Welcome to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the township, the village, you know, those government entities that make laws, regulations, and ordinances that affect you out there.
And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people, that you elected, and the commissions and the committees that make decisions that directly affect you. And that's why we're here.
And to spread rumors. Occasionally.
Rumors and humors.
Yeah, rumors and humors. Now, the humors will come out of the political meetings and some of the politicians that you people have elected out there. And it's going to be a fun year because, you know, it is an election year, right?
Multiple elections. You got the school board, you got local elections, you got presidential elections.
Yeah. And the way I see it and watching other news and catching the wire, it's kind of like Michigan is one big piece of earthquake.
Peninsula.
I say quicksand, and all the cities are being sucked into this quicksand, I think, some way or another. Did you see the latest?
Nice analogy. What? What? Did I see what?
They rated governors in the United States. Rated, interesting enough, the Michigan governor as number 1 or number 2 is the worst governor to ever take a seat. Now, I like the guy. I think he's fine. And by the way, he's a Republican.
One little water problem and all goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, right. Well, everybody thought Nixon was great too, and he was a Republican.
Was he?
He was. And they thought he was great until everything fell apart. So you just never know, right?
Well, that's the old saying. A thousand attaboys are wiped out by one, well, you know what.
Right. You folks do recognize the humor, don't you? Anyway, let's talk about 2 meetings that took place. And I will say they were has-beens. They happened last week.
Okay.
And one is the Oxford Village Council meeting, and the other one is the OACC Communications Commission meeting, which you were privy to sit in.
And Sue Basardi holds sway over both of them.
She does. She's the new president of the Oxford Community Communications Commission.
Oxford Area Cable Communications Commission, OACCC.
She would be that. Mm-hmm. You got that embedded, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's tattooed. I can read it right here.
By the way, how's the accounting coming along? Because you maintain the books?
The accounting is going along just fine. We are where we're supposed to be.
You just move things around, and it works out, right?
And if that square peg doesn't fit into that round slot, we hammer it in.
Anyway, you got it. Okay, well, let's talk about the Oxford Village Council then. And there's a lot of things that took place. And by the way, the council chambers were packed with people.
Oh, really?
This meeting on.
Yep. It was a torches and pitchfork meeting.
Oh, it was on the 22nd. I'll tell you, there wasn't hardly breathing room to get in that room.
I've been back years ago when I used to video those meetings, and they had a torches and pitchfork meeting. Mm-hmm. I'd be squeezed back in the corner with the camera.
Well, you know, the big subject here was the public meeting that they were having, the hearing.
Oh, it's all a public meeting.
Yeah, it is.
A public hearing.
A public hearing. I did say hearing after I said meeting. So anyway, picky. Anyway, the public hearing, and it involved 98 Glaspie Street. Now, you know, this has been on running for some time.
98 Glaspie, isn't that the one that Mr. Snyder wants to build a apartment complex on?
Right. Chuck Snyder, and he's looking at roughly 76 units to go into that location.
That was the original plan.
It was. And the individual that spoke at the podium first, we're going to skip all the preliminary things like the pledge and all that stuff, because a lot went on here that I want to discuss. Can I do that?
Sure. We're getting the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, Reader's Digest. So anyway, the property consists of 3.5 acres. However, the person speaking originally said that there are 5.25 acres that this was going to go on, which is embellishing the space somewhat to get 76 units on. And it was pointed out later that there's 3.5 acres, which is considerably less than what was stated.
Hey, and move a decimal point around, and what do you got?
Hey, it'll fit. Make it. No, you said put in square. Anyway, and round slots. Anyway, this would do it. So anyway, the development said that the total investment would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 million to accomplish this from beginning to end. It would take roughly 5 years in order to accomplish, you know, the phase of this thing. And currently, according to Chuck Snyder, who stood up second.
You say the phase, you mean the final phase.
Final phase.
Right.
Chuck Snyder, he pointed out, look, he said that in 2015, he said he brought the proposal before the council. He said that it was unanimous by the council that they accept his offer, $225,000. At the time, there was some dissent in the fact that we paid $725,000, I believe, for the property, and turning it for $225,000 is really a giveaway.
Well, you buy high, you sell low, and
That's
go
what-
for volume.
That's the way it was working out here. But so anyway, of course, the economics have changed a lot since they purchased it. Back in 2008, I think, is when the property was purchased. And so anyway,
Things were not good back then.
well, they turned really bad in 2008 and went downhill
that's
ever
true.
since then.
That's true.
And of course, property taxes were cut, because the value of individual properties became less. And of course, you had less income coming into the village, as well as the township too, by the way, folks. So they've had to work with the monies that they've got coming, or they need to develop new properties that can generate tax funds. So that was the thought, I think, is that the property was just sitting there, and it was actually of no value to the village. They weren't making money off from it.
No
other
one
than-
wanted to buy it.
Yeah, right. Well, they did rent it to a boat company, but it was really
That was for storage.
cheap.
Yeah.
The way they inexpensive.
It was
well, I
just
should
for-
use cheap because cheap was
It was seasonal and it was for storage.
yeah, and it was less than I think $2,000 a year or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
But
Yeah, not much money income that they were getting on it. So the idea was, move the property, get some development in there that will actually bring a greater tax base, to the residents, and pay some of the expenses. By the way,
And then what happened?
and so anyway, Chuck Snyder
Oh,
says,
Father, tell me what happened then.
I can do that. Chuck Snyder said that he has invested so far $25,000 plus paying fees and so forth, to the various.
You do have to get someone to
Entities.
design this thing.
Yes, you do. So he said that originally the planner for the village said that it was an ideal situation or development for the area. And so they were all for it. He said the village council all approved it, not once but twice, to go ahead with this. So he did invest the time in terms of the architectural fees and so forth. Now we get to the point, any residents would like to comment on this. And boy, did they ever. They came from all directions,
With their
And
torches
it was a
and
ba-
their pitchforks.
It was a regular battlefield there. And of course, the council pretty much listens at that point of what the public has to say, and they don't really respond, to the various people at the
Well, how many
podium.
of the public did get up and speak?
There must have been at least 20.
Really?
Yeah. And so there's so many people that they put it on a timer that I think they had 3 minutes each in which they could speak.
That's very typical.
Yeah. Well, in that case, it had to be. But some of the things that they talk about and what they were concerned with were very interesting, and very poignant, from a standpoint that
So what were the chief points?
they were poignant. Poignant? Oh,
No,
poignant.
points. Not poignant. Poignant
It was pointless.
or pungent. I don't know.
It was one of those. And we'll talk more about that when we come back right after this, folks.
Have you liked us on Facebook yet? If not, what are you waiting for? Just go to your Facebook page, go to the search bar, and type in Oxford Community Television.
Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the Oxford Village Council meeting that they had about 98 Glaspie Street. And
They came in droves.
droves. That room was packed. And I'll tell you some of the subjects that came up. They said that there are 14 homes.
This is what I'm telling you about, folks. If you got something that's going to affect you, show up at the meeting. Well, these people did.
Stop interrupting. Okay. Anyway, there's 14 homes actually on Oxford Lakeside that would actually visualize this large building, these buildings going up.
You sound like it's a skyscraper.
Well, it's going to be 3 stories high, one of them. So anyway, the homes on Glaspie, there's 16 homes
Yeah.
in that location.
It's
So-
what is that? That's a commercial zone, isn't it?
Actually, it's residential in that point,
Yeah.
single-family dwellings. But that one piece of property is what you might call spot zoning,
Yeah.
which is not really allowed, in most of the ordinances and state laws either.
But there it
Spot
is.
zoning, but there it is. And I guess if it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck.
Well,
So they're trying to figure out what to do with this because the village kind of inherited the situation. It used to be a manufacturing business at one time.
on one side you've got the residents' complaints. On the other side you've got the potential of a nice tax base.
You do. So what do? Well, the point is you take care of your residents. You do what's in the best interest of the residents, and that makes good sense to any politician that's sitting there.
Okay, but what was the main complaint of the residents?
Well, there were several of them, and one was the noise.
Noise?
Noise that would be generated by the residents of 76 units in that area.
They all have their windows open playing boomboxes?
No, but there are people that come out occasionally, and drive their cars around, and you know what the corner of Lakeville and Glaspie Street is like when the light changes.
I know what it will be like when MDOT puts that bypass in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they did discuss that too, by the way, on this. But one person said, well, it doesn't concur with the master plan. Well, here's the point. The master plan actually is just meant to be a tool for guidance, not necessarily stamped in concrete or granite, but strictly a direction that the village should be looking at to take it. And you don't really have to concur with it, 100%. You do have some deviation
Now,
capability.
the master plan has all those little plots all say this is
Right.
this
is
code
what's
and
gonna
that
happen.
code and residential and business and blah.
And that's the reason why the state requires every municipality to upgrade their master plan every
5
years.
years,
Because
they
things
said.
change, right?
Yes.
It used to be a stagecoach, not anymore. Used to be a train, well, not anymore. So you have to,
Sure.
adjust to it accordingly, right? So, Callie Rossner Myers was there, and she was quite vocal on the point that
She's on the Township Planning Commission.
she is, and she's very knowledgeable. Pretty sharp little gal. She was against the appointment or the improvement.
But she
to
doesn't
do
live
this.
there, does she?
She lives within the village. I
Right,
think.
but not in that strip where it'd be directly affected.
No, not in that
Okay.
area. But I think she's relying on her knowledge and background that she has in terms of planning, because she's on the planning commission also for the township. She said that the area doesn't adhere to the single-family zoning requirements, which she's right, it does not. But keep in mind that this project was a PUD,
Oh,
so it's negotiable.
okay.
That is a public unit development, PUD.
It was a business to start with.
Yeah, right. It was a business to start with. But not anymore. It's going to become a residential, multi-family residential capability is what they wanted to change it to. So,
And then people came out of the woodwork.
oh, did they ever? Yep. Through the windows, under the door. They were all there. They also, some of the residents had concerns about the well, in the area, the quality of the well, the water.
What do you mean?
Well, there is a well there that provides water to, all the residents in that area.
That's where the main water treatment plant is.
It is the main water treatment plant.
So how would that be affected?
Well, they're concerned about it, that there could be, through the development, a disruption of various materials that could wash into their water ecosystem. So, that being said, one of the members pointed out, one of the council members, is that there is no issue with the water in that area. It's tested on a regular basis and is considered the best water not only in the state, but probably nationally.
Wow.
In terms of quality. So it's very good. That's not an issue. But they're just concerned that,
Let's
you know,
scratch that one off.
well, it's good water. They want to keep that way, which I
Yeah,
can see
okay.
that. Dave Solinsky, who works with the Sheriff's Department, he said that he would rather see it single-family development and not multi-family as they want to change it to with high density.
Oh, does Dave live in that area?
He does.
He does,
Yep.
okay.
I believe he's from Oxford Lakes. is
Oh, that's
he's
where you live.
Yeah, but this group of people are right off the lake, across from Oxford Lake, where this place would, you know, not Oxford Lake, but another lake that they're thinking about building this complex on. So
Okay. What's his concern?
he's concerned that, you know, multiple locations or development like this, a residential area, is too much. It would make more sense to use that same property and develop single home development for it instead of the multiples. Now, many people stood up and they said, first of all, 76 units is way too many. And
What was their criteria for that?
well, they said even 42 units would do the job.
What was their criteria for that?
Okay, the criteria was because of the space, 3.25 acres or whatever it was. But here's the point. Chuck Snyder, the developer, he said the council and everybody knew that I wanted 76 units, and he said it was approved 76 units, and I would not want to reduce that number from an economic standpoint and a profitability standpoint.
You have to
So-
do a redesign.
He would have to do a major redesign. He already has 25,000 into the existing architectural. So at one point, he said, look, if you don't want to see me do this, you pay the 225,000, you take it over, and you put whatever you want in there. Well, folks said, well, we'd like to see it a park, because right now, part of it is a ball diamond,
Oh, that's
for
nice.
kids.
Take it completely off the tax rolls.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, do another park, do another diamond, you know, for kids, T-ball or whatever, or even soccer would be a consideration some people brought up. But now, later on, Tom Keenis, he spoke up and he said, you can't really do a park because the village doesn't have the money. He said, you folks don't understand. He said that we're not flush with money. And furthermore, he said any grants that might be offered, he said it would be, you have to pay a percentage of the grant to get it. And we don't even have the percentage in order to do it. So he said, if you...
We are strapped.
Yeah. And Sue Basardi, she later chimed in and she said, and if you built such a thing, you couldn't maintain it because we don't have the finances to do it. So, you know, looking at the financial side of it, and I think there's a hush over the crowd when they heard that the village
It'd be
isn't
like
so
Gone
flush.
with the Wind. We'd
Yeah.
have to depend on the kindness of strangers.
Right, right. And here's the thing, they're trying to, some of the members on the council are trying to balance the budget so that there's no tax increase. And it's a struggle. Now, they can do some things to reduce the expenses, which will bring the budget back into play. They need to have tight restrictions on the groups of people that they're working with, like the police department and the DPW and so forth, to maybe take a percentage out of each group in order to balance. But they're not,
Or they could,
they don't want to give it up once
or
they have it.
or they could resurface that old evergreen of yours,
Evergreen. Which
Yeah.
evergreen is that?
the dispatch department.
Oh, dispatch. Yeah, the old dispatch. And I can see that train chugging off away. But yeah,
$400,000?
400,000, 425,000.
Okay.
But also they have to upgrade the equipment every once in a while. So that's
that's
a
true.
major expense as well. And there are options that they need to look at, but they need to have the, what we would say, kahunas to make it work.
Oh, steel.
Yeah. With that, we'll be back right after this, folks, with more. Welcome back to Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the Oxford Village Council. And boy, there was a lot that went on there, and it ran for hours. So
Normally it's like watching grass grow, but
right,
this was a bamboo forest.
right. Well, I can see another train chugging up the tracks, and one of them is called TKM.
TKM.
Yep.
Is that a business?
It's a business. It's a trucking firm, and they've just purchased the mobile marine lot. And the residents now on Glaspie Street are not only complaining about this development that is proposed.
Where's the mobile marine lot?
It's let me see. It would be north or south on Glaspie. Okay, would be somewhere in that in the manufacturing.
Glaspie goes
Portion of
east and okay, it does go north and south.
It does. Right. So anyway, apparently these trucks have been traveling down Glaspie, spreading dust and so forth, and making a lot of noise like they used to on Burdick before they restricted Burdick, from the trucks.
But the problem with Burdick was they turned their Jake brakes on going down the hill.
Oh, they do that on Glaspie also. Yeah.
But it's flat.
Yeah. But no, there's hills. There's like a hill there.
Well, by
Before
the
you get
school.
into- yeah.
By the school.
No. Before you get to the school. Drive Glaspie and you'll see what I'm talking about. Check it out. Make a note.
It ain't a big hill.
It would be a big hill, but if the guy's got a chance to use Jake brakes, use them.
Jake
It irritates everybody, Jake brakes. Anyway, so they said noise is an issue. So this, you can see a train coming into the terminal here that people are going to complain down the line, about the trucks. One other thing they're complaining about is that these trucks are taking a shortcut and they're cutting across somewhere in one of the major parking lots across the train tracks, and rather than using the road.
There's train tracks?
Yeah, there were train tracks. The old train tracks used to run through there. You probably remember where they were. Over
Well,
along Glaspie there.
oh yeah, the train
Yeah,
station.
anyway,
Yeah,
the trucks are now finding a shortcut.
now
to
the
take.
Pollyant Trail.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are issues, and of course, it was brought up, and of course, the village manager, Joe Young, and the attorney said they are addressing that as an issue as this person was
Okay.
speaking. Now, they said that pretty much settles that. They took a vote on it, and they decided that they did not want to approve the development on 98 Glaspie Street. So that pretty much settles that.
Sorry, Chuck.
Yep, sorry, Chuck. Chuck went out with his head on the ground, not, looking at his shoes on the way out. Anyway,
He's not one to give up easily.
he's a
though.
good businessman, and, he was trying to make it work, but, it's got to be profitable. So the next thing they brought up is bills, by the village council, and it came up to $775,000, roughly, and $228.14. And that was approved. They got to pay the bills. And they also then talked about charter resolutions. There's 6 amendments to the charter. And one of the things, the amendments would be to, if you're in default, in other words, you owe money to the village for some reason,
For either water, sewer, or taxes,
yeah,
whatever.
then you cannot serve a position on the village council or any of the offices.
So is that in the form of a referendum, or is that in the form of something that they vote on?
No. Well, they'll have to vote to approve the amendments, which they did. They did approve it. And now it goes before the governor. And I believe this was the reading. They will now send it to the governor. The governor needs to review it. If he approves it, he'll sign it. And then those amendments will be made to their charter
Ah.
and be in effect.
And what
It's
if
a
he
long
bats,
process.
and what if he bats it back down?
If he bats it back down, they got to start from ground zero again.
But can he do a line item?
But it
Just
has
say,
to
well,
be-
I don't like this one.
Well, he can. I mean, he can veto any portion of this if he wants.
Okay. But a veto,
any
but a
amendment.
veto of one is a veto for all.
Right. But, yeah, I guess that could be. So anyway, that's...
Winner take all kind of thing, yeah.
Winner take all. Kind of like what we were talking about in the election.
Right.
Kind of, sort of, whatever. Okay. Let me see, what else? That's pretty much it. Oh, Susan Basardi gave a flowing tongue lashing to the residents out there that it's not just the village, that you should be concerned at looking at, things that we're trying to do here, but also the township, because when the township makes changes, if they do large developments like the one they're looking at next to Myers with over 400 units or whatever it is, I mean, that's going to affect the traffic pattern. It's going to affect you folks in the village as well.
And
So-
of course, one of her concerns is how do you grow the village?
Right. And it's only so many square feet or square miles. It's 1
That's
square
a
mile.
really small village.
Well, yeah, square feet. It's 1 square mile is what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, 1
That
square
it?
mile.
Okay.
It's downtown and plus the other area. I often said a way to do that is annex the area that you need. You know, if
Can
you
they
see
do that?
taxes over in the township, yeah,
Can
they
a village
but it's-
annex?
Yeah, they can do that if they want. They can make the process, but
What of?
it's a long process, and the only thing is, in order to annex property, you got to have the residents within that annexation be willing to do it. And they would be paying more taxes.
Oh.
Who out there would like to pay more taxes? Raise your hand. I don't
right.
think it's got a good
Let's see,
odds.
we're paying township taxes now, but
Yeah.
gosh, we can pay village taxes and township
Yeah,
taxes.
gee, let's do it. Okay, so that pretty much took care of the Oxford Village meeting. It was really lively, and I'll tell you what, I'd like to see more people attend these meetings because a lot of things go on that kind of, you know, is stealth related. You don't know it was there until later. Let's talk about the OCC Communications Commission meeting.
Okay.
Sue Passardet is the president of that board.
We
She's
had
just
that on the
newly
28th,
elected.
didn't we?
Yes, just newly elected. Let me see, they approved the bills right away that they had at $30,094. They did, let me see, they received and filed expense reports, which is normal stuff. Invoice delinquent reports or distribution reports. Invoice distribution, do you do that?
Yeah, that's basically checks.
Okay, so that's what,
Checks
why don't
what
they
are-
just say checks?
Checks what are written.
Checks that are written, okay.
Also income that comes in.
Okay, now the bulk of the time that they had discussed the employee handbook.
Yep.
Right. And they went through it page by page.
Well, they went through it page by page in certain areas that Lori Fisher had highlighted that she thought might be worthy of discussion.
Sure. Well, yeah, it seemed like it ran for
But
a
it's
while.
38 pages.
Is it? Okay, yeah. And I know you guys got it kind of at the last moment.
Right,
you
we're
know, before the
going to
meeting.
go through it with a fine tooth comb here too.
And you were talking, I think the first thing was background checks.
Right.
And can you tell me more about that?
Well, especially, it's two categories, especially when you're got a new employee coming in. You want to do a background check. You want to find out if he has a valid driver's license without any infractions on it. And also,
Well, what
there
do you-
is an ongoing process where you periodically check driver's licenses to be sure there's no infraction. But until that handbook is finalized, we won't be able to do that.
Well, that's because that person or persons would be driving one of our vans. that we
Absolutely.
have.
Well, no, those persons already exist.
They already exist. Oh, okay.
But they could be driving their own car
well, have you
on,
made,
company, on
have
our
you-
business.
Have you made background checks on the employees that we have here now in the past?
I'm scared what I'd find.
All I can say, folks, is the buck stops here.
Right. But
How's that buck working out for
But
us?
once the handbook is approved, then we'll initiate that process, and everyone will be able to sign off on it.
Well, there's a lot of detail involved with that, that's for sure. And anyway, we had Terry Stiles also. She explained what PEG Central is and what PEG is, you know, and it was rather interesting. You folks want to see more about this, you can catch it on,
And she even explained the mysterious rebroadcast fee,
yes, interesting.
which I had to have her explain that one to me again.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a fee you pay to what would be called the on-the-air broadcasters, Channel 4, Channel 2, Channel 62, to put it on cable, basically.
What it involves is that they send you a check, and he cashes the check. He keeps 75% of it.
Hey.
We'll start that rumor. What's coming up next?
Going to get me in trouble here, boy.
Too late.
On April 5th at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford Planning Commission will be meeting. And on April 11th at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Zoning Board of Appeals, which may or may not meet depending on what they have on their menu. So check on that one.
Yeah.
At 7 o'clock on 4/11, the Village of Leonard Council meets. And on April 12th at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council,
Again.
and we'll see. And at 6 o'clock that same day, Addison Township Planning Commission.
This is Minutes by Minutes. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
We'll catch you next time right here.
See you then.